Okay, so I was gonna have us start on the ground. You might want a blanket, you might not. I'll show you though why you might possibly want it. We're just gonna sit on our shins and sit down on our heels. So the possibility of having a blanket would be either to place it underneath your knees or placing the blanket in between the calves and the hamstrings and sitting on it like that. Just depends on how your knees are doing and how your body's doing. Great, from there, let's go ahead and open up our arms and then cross the right over left and give yourself a nice big hug. From here, really walk the fingertips as far as they can, holding on to your shoulder blades. Bring the chin down into your chest. And just snuggle those shoulders a little away from each other. You can use the fingers to lightly encourage them away from each other. I'm just taking a moment here with your eyes closed and just sinking into your seat and literally sinking into yourself. Even with the chin to your chest, allow your breath to rise the chest up as though the heart is trying to peek up in between the arms. And on the exhale, you feel as though the low ribs start to fall back to the low back. Yay, Mom, I'm so glad you're here. Mom, I'm not sure when you joined, but you can place a blanket in between your calves and your hamstrings and sit down on your shins and just give yourself a nice big hug and walk the fingertips as far as you can on your back and bring your chin to your chest and just hug yourself for a moment. And we'll take one more breath, and if you need more time there, then feel free to stay more. And then we'll open up the arms when you're ready and just let the palms of the hands look up to the sky and get nice and long, almost even bringing the arms slightly behind you and turning the gaze up towards the sky. Take another breath here and feel like you're breathing from your heart and just expanding out the arms out to the fingertips. And then on your exhale, you'll bring the left hand over the right and just know that each side can be so different, but still walking the hands as far into the middle of the back as you're able to. Just taking this moment to settle in. Taking deep breaths into the belly, feeling the rise. If you feel like you want to roll your neck from side to side, feel free to. And then bringing your chin to your chest once more. Let's now bring the heart back, and as if the heart is trying to move in between the shoulder blades. It almost feels as though the shoulder heads are moving forward, the heart is moving in between the shoulder blades, creating some space there. As though it's almost cocooning, making a little burrow. When you feel ready, go ahead and inhale, open up the arms, turn the palms to face up towards the sky. Exhale here. And then inhale, reach the fingertips up towards the sky while pressing down into the sit bones. Get nice and long on the side body. Exhale, bring the hands right back down to your sides. This time we'll turn the palms up, lift on up to just the knees, reaching the hands up towards the sky. And then exhale, turn the palms down, bring them right next down to your sides. One more time, we'll inhale, reach the hands up, bringing the pinkies towards one another. Exhale, we'll bring the hips back down to the heels, bringing the hands to the heart. Go ahead and bring your hands down to the hoop on either side. We'll lift back up to our knees, bringing this hoop to these cactus arms, trying to catch our back ribs. The elbows will be on either side, just as though you're squeezing the elbows into the hoop. The hoop is catching, yay, into the back ribs. And we'll inhale, lift the torso up and off of the hips. Use the hoop to even help lift. And then exhale, bring the low belly and begin to find a little cat-cow movement where the hoop comes forward and you start to round the spine. Find a few of these. We'll inhale, find a little arch of the spine, turning the hoop up, lifting the gaze up. And then exhale, round the spine, getting the low belly to move towards the spine. Finding a couple more at your own pace. When you do this, just notice if the legs are trying to move away from each other. Encourage the outer legs to draw in and get a little lift in the legs. And we'll lift the hoop right back up to the sky and exhale, bring the hips back down, bring the hoop right around the body, and we'll come to our tabletop position. You can keep the feet and the knees inside the hoop, bring the hands onto the outside, and bring the hands underneath the shoulders. The knees should be pretty much underneath the hips, just flattening the toenails onto the ground. Inhale, we'll find an arch of the spine, really bring that pubic bone back. Bring the heart in between the arms. And exhale, we'll round, bringing that low belly into the back. Do that again. Inhale, bringing the shoulder blades down the spine. And exhale, really using the hands to get long in the arms and let that heart move in between the shoulder blades even here. Let's do it one more time. When you find yourself in the arch again, bring hips, the right hip towards the right shoulder, then move the left shoulder towards the left hip. Just kind of move around as though you're pretending to be a snake. And just notice if there is some tension that you're holding anywhere in the spine and focus on that area. Try to figure out how do you have to move to breathe into that area. If you have the hands on the ground, you can pretend to push the floor away. And just moving the hips, moving the shoulders, trying to create some space, taking your time. And when you're ready, we'll come to a flat back, curl those toes under. Then we'll lift the knees off the ground and come to a downward facing dog. But we're gonna step the downward facing dog closer than we usually do. So a really short V. Let's bend the knees. There should be way more weight in the feet than the hands. It should feel almost as though it's a break for the hands. But we'll lift the toes up and off of the earth. Think of the shins moving forward as the very top of the thighs are pressing back. And just notice where the weight is going in the feet. If it's a lot in the middle, Try to encourage a little bit more weight onto the outside of the ball mound. The toes are still lifted. Notice where the ears are, and then encourage the ears to go in between the arms and still press those tops of the thighs back. Yes, even keeping the knees bent. Then let's lift onto our toes, lift the heels. So heels are lifted. Perhaps you straighten the legs, but still think shins moving slightly forward and then inner thighs drawing back. As though you're walking your sit bones up the wall behind you. Notice how far did your ribs come towards your thighs, and then can you bring the bottom front ribs, think of the bottom front ribs drawing into the back ribs. Take another breath here with the heels lifted, and then plant the heels down, bring more weight again back into the heels of the feet, give those hands a little rest. And let the head hang heavy. You can walk the hands towards the feet and just hang out for a moment. You can hold on to opposite elbows. You can kind of trace the hoop by rocking back and forth. And just let that head hang heavy. Let it feel like it's resting. You can do yeses or nos. And let this be another opportunity to really sink into your breath. As you inhale, can you imagine your diaphragm moving this time up into your hips? And then on the exhale, the diaphragm moves in towards your ribs. So as you inhale, diaphragm moving up into the pelvic floor. And on the exhale, that diaphragm moves back into your center. Just one more this way, not feeling like we have to go anywhere. And we'll hold on to the hoop and bend the knees and slowly roll on up, bringing the hula hoop with us. It'll frame the whole body as it comes all the way to the crown of the head, finding those cactus arms and allowing yourself to then bring the hoop down onto the head and just let it balance there and bring your hands to your side. Giving yourself a moment to feel your Tadasana, to feel sturdy and strong. And then we'll grab that hoop, bring it right in front of us. Let's make our way to the back of our mat if you aren't already. And then we'll hold on to the hoop with both our hands, press in a little bit more with the pinky side of your finger and help those shoulder blades move and crawl down the back. Get a little lift in the low belly. And then when you're ready, go ahead, inhale, reach the fingers up toward the sky. Exhale, we'll bring that hoop to the tops of our thighs. You can always keep a mini bend in the knees and fold over. We'll inhale, come to a flat back. Exhale, we'll fold. Hold onto the hoop with both hands. Lift on up. Reach the hoop over the crown of the head. Get nice and long from outer heels all the way to the pinky fingers. And then we'll exhale, fold over once again. Let's do that one more time. Inhale, coming up. Half flat back. You can bring your hands to the top of the hoop and reach the shoulders back. Exhale, fold over. Inhale, coming on up. Lift the hoop to the sky. Exhale, and we'll fold. We'll move on this time. We'll inhale, flat back, and then walk the hands out to a downward facing dog, keeping the hoop at the tops of the thighs, only if it works for you. If it doesn't work, who cares? Just place it down on the ground, and that's totally fine. If you enjoy having the hoop at the tops of the thighs, then keep it. And then think of the heels kind of pressing more back than down. Get nice and long in the arms. Take one more breath. then we'll inhale, lift to the tippy toes. If the hoop's still there, now it's gonna fall. And then bring the knees down and we'll lower to the earth, letting the elbows grace the ribs. Flattening the toenails onto the ground. We'll lift your hips just a bit to get that hoop out of there, out from underneath you. And then we'll bring it right on top of our back. Hold on to the hoop with both hands. And then we'll lift up and press the palms into the hoop. Really squeeze those shoulder blades together. Notice if you're leaning more towards one side to the other. We're going to be here for a few breaths. So plant down on both sides of the pelvic floor. Maybe hips might sound more doable. So either think hips or pelvic floor, both sides planting down. Inhale, reach the hands towards the toes. Keep and squeeze once more. And then lower and release everything. Reach the arms forward and just give yourself a little rest. That can do a lot for your triceps. And then reaching the hands forward, you're just tractioning on the ground and getting length in the arms. We're going to do that again. Bring the hands behind you. The hoop is still behind you. We'll roll as if you're trying to roll the biceps, the inner arms, and trying to roll the biceps around the hoop that's behind you to help open up the chest. Then we'll inhale, lift up, reach the toes far, reach the hoop far. You can keep toes on the ground. Taking breaths. And one more. Oh, go ahead, lower down to the ground, reach the hands forward. And just let that head, let the forehead just make connection to the ground. If the forearms are on the earth and just totally resting, let's now lift the forearms slightly, turn the outer arms underneath and draw the hands towards one another. They're not moving, but they're having this energy drawing them towards one another. And bring those hands back right at your collarbone, the elbows back. Then we'll lift up and come to a tabletop position. We're just going to bring this hoop right into the middle of the ground, in the middle of your mat. So bringing your knees and your feet on the inside of the hoop, we'll find that tabletop. Go ahead, reach the right heel back. Think lifting with the inseam of that right leg. Make sure that that foot is nice and active. From here, you can just stay here with both hands on the ground, or perhaps you reach that left hand forward. And then stretch from the middle of your beam, either direction. And then exhale, bring everything back down. Stretch the left heel back, inner thigh lift. Hug that right hip in still. Take a nice good breath here. And then reach the right hand forward, give a thumbs up, and reach out through the pinky finger. Reach out through the inner thigh of that lifted leg. Bring those front ribs into the back body. Take another breath. And then lower everything back down. We're just going to do it briefly on each side again. At the same time, reach the left hand, right leg, opposite direction. Get nice and long in both arms. And then bring it all down. Reach right hand, left leg, opposite direction. And bring it all back down. Lift those knees, come back to a downward facing dog. You feel free to waggle the hips out a little bit if you need to. And then when you're ready, we'll lift that right heel to the sky and step that foot forward in between the hands. If it doesn't make it all the way there, just help it along the way. And then bring that knee down on the inside of the hoop, The foot should be on the inside too. Lift the hoop up and behind you. So it should be underneath this front leg and then behind your back. And we can lift our hands and bring our elbows behind the hoop. So from here, just think low belly, lift up, and then slowly begin to lean a little bit back and feel nice and supported by the hoop. Oh, look what's happening. My knee wants to come with. Well, let's try to encourage that knee to still move forward as you lean back. Take a good breath. And then slowly come on out. If that's a lot for the knees, for the next side, get a blanket. I should have mentioned that. It could be a lot. Let's go ahead and lift that back knee up. Step back. Go ahead. You're welcome to bring the knees down or take full chaturanga all the way to the earth. Then we'll inhale, find a baby cobra, reaching the heart through the shoulders, and then come on down. We'll lift on up to plank and downward facing dog. Inhale the left heel to the sky and step that foot forward. Another way to keep that knee safe is as you lower it, get to the very, very top of that back knee as though you're trying to get onto your quad rather than the knee. And then just take notice, make sure that this front knee right now isn't going past the toes, not for this exercise. And we'll bring this hoop up and behind us. So it should be in between our legs and behind our head. Trying to square our hips to the front of the mat. All right, let's bend into that front knee. And slowly begin to lean into this hoop. One more breath, let that tailbone be heavy. Keep bending into that front knee. And then we'll lower that hoop behind us, bring it down to the ground. Lift that back knee up. Step this front foot back. We'll stay in plank pose for 2 breaths. Just feel your plank. And on your next exhale, come on back to downward loving dog. We'll take 3 breaths in downward facing dog. So bringing a little attention to the pointer finger and the big thumbs. And then thinking of the upper outer arms drawing underneath and towards one another. One more breath. And we'll slowly walk our hands back to the hoop. Let yourself hang. Once you get there, can you root down into the feet to let those sit bones go high? Then hold on to the hoop and we'll raise all the way up. Find length in the spine. Exhale, we're flipping the hoop over and folding over. Yeah, awesome. Exactly like that. Yay. Inhale, flat back. And start to walk your hands out to a downward facing dog. That was so cool to see my mom flip a hula hoop. The other 2 are hula hoopers, but that was cool to see my mom do that. Okay, while we're in downward dog, we're gonna walk our feet closer together and then lift that right heel up towards the sky. Feel what it's like to have that support of the hoop at the hips, if that works. Oh no, did you break your hoop? Shoot. Oh no. Shoot. I think I forgot to tell you, make sure it's I did forget to tell you to make sure it's a hoop that you can fold over. But sometimes this just doesn't work for people. Let's go ahead and lower that leg if it's still lifted and lift the left foot up towards the sky. Just evening it out. Go ahead, bring that foot down, lift up onto the tippy toes, come on out to your plank pose. And we'll bring those knees down and lower all the way to the earth. Oh, Jen, is it really completely broken? Is your hula hoop broken? Oh, just kidding. I thought your hula hoop broke. Just kidding. Okay, find a cobra. And then we'll go ahead and meet in downward facing dog. Once here, reach the right heel to the sky, and then we'll step it forward in between the hands, again, helping along the way if you need to. In this nice wide lunge. So we're gonna wiggle this right foot out towards the right. So there's more, so it's like a wider stance. The toes are slightly pointing out towards the right. Bring that back foot and bring it to the outside of the hoop. So the knee of that back knee is in the ground, the back knee is in the hoop, but the foot's on the outside of the hoop. Let's go ahead and let our hips get nice and heavy. Hug this front hip slightly back and in as that tailbone's heavy. So the reason why I said all that stuff with the direction of the foot is you can either stay here if you want to, or go ahead and keep the left hand on the ground and bring your right hand to the right and pick up that hoop on the right side. From there, you can walk the hand up the hoop and it will pick up that back foot. So you'll be in this twist, but also getting a quad stretch. Okay. So either one, totally A-okay. I'm gonna stay for 2 more breaths. And then lower it down to the ground. Wiggle this front foot back into the center. Pick up that back knee, stay for a moment in this high lunge, reach the heart forward, pubic bone back. And then step back. Go ahead. This will be our last chaturanga, lowering to the ground. Inhale, finding a little back bend, thinking more length in the spine than height. And then we'll meet in downward facing dog. Reach that left heel to the sky, and then we'll step it forward in between the hands. Bring that back knee down. Wiggle that hoop so the knee's on the inside, the foot's on the outside, unless you already know that you don't need to do it. Do that twist. And then we'll wiggle this left foot out to the left. Bring both hands onto the inside of that front heel. And draw both inner thighs back. Think sit bones moving away from each other. So yeah, getting a little wider booty. And then let that tailbone be heavy as though you're trying to bring the hips to the ground. If you did the twist on the last side, go ahead, plant that right hand down, wiggle the left hand to the outer side to the left, and pick up the hoop, pick up that foot. And allow that bottom shoulder to move into, that bottom shoulder blade moving into the back of the heart to help open up that heart as you twist. Slowly come on out of the twist if you did so. We'll wiggle that front foot back into the center of the mat. Curl the back toes under, lift that knee up. Stay for a moment, just feel yourself in this high lunge, reaching the heart forward, the sit bones back. And then step back, plank pose. Another breath here in plank pose. Plank pose is a nice reset. Sometimes it can be hard, but it's also a good reset. And when you're ready, we'll go to down dog, which is also another reset. One more breath in your downward facing dog. And then we'll walk our hands back to our feet. Go ahead and pick up the hoop, come all the way up to Tadasana. And exhale, just release the hoop down to your side. Take a moment here just to let all the cells have a little party. If you get a little lightheaded when you fold over, that's normal too. That's also why it's nice to take a little siesta. All right, so the next things are kind of fun. So we're gonna bring our hoop into one hand and spin the hoop. Just spin it in our hands and then spin the other arm. You can keep it on the hand if that works, or roll the hoop onto the wrists, allow it to roll around. If that's not working for you, Mom, then for right now, for today's sake, I'm gonna see you in just a couple days, so just put the hoop down. I'll teach you how to do this in person, don't break anything. So we'll do it in person soon, but for right now, just do some arm circles. Let them be big. For the other two, you just keep on going with that hoop around the wrist. Let it travel up if it feels good. And if you go one way, then go the opposite way. So Mom, you'll do the big circles right now. And when we change sides, then you'll do smaller circles. Okay, so for the hoopers, let's go ahead, stop the hoop, bring it into the opposite hand. And then go ahead and find those circles forward. So doing arm circles, it's a really great way to activate our heart chakra without a hula hoop or just in the middle of our day, if we have nothing and we feel out of touch with our heart. The outstretch of our wings creates air, but it's also our hands are the way that our heart touches others. So if you just think of really long arms, this is also a really good workout for the arms too, isn't it? It gets a little tiring. If you went one way, do it the other way. Whew. Yeah, feel the burn. I can't wait to do the next one with you guys. All right, and then we'll just stop the hoop. You can hold on to it and bring it into this circle, like holding on to it so it's making connection to really like your chest and your arms. And then allow that hoop to kind of slightly press into the heart. It's a way to feel like we are covering our heart once again, sometimes opening up the heart, and different heart openers can feel like a little bit exposed. So feel as though this is your way of kind of shielding it. And we'll bring the hoop down. Let's bring our legs pretty wide. If you would like, you can keep the hoop at the tops of the thighs, or if that is too much to fold over, then bring it to the back. Bring it to your back if you want, or just place it on the ground. So legs are wide. And let's fold over our hoop. And then bring your hands to your back and interlace the fingers if that works for you. If it doesn't work to interlace the fingers, maybe bring just the fists together. By interlacing the fingers, we'll draw the shoulder heads up towards the ceiling. Then bring the shoulder blades down towards the hips. And then lift those hands up and off of your back. And reach the hands towards the crown of the head as the head gets nice and heavy. Think how wide can you get from the left collarbone to the right collarbone? Or perhaps thinking deep armpit to deep armpit as you might lift the hands a little higher to the sky as you think of creating more space in the armpits. And just taking some time, wiggling around if you need to. Just 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, just let those hands fall to the ground, come up halfway. Place the right hand underneath the right shoulder. We'll bring our left hand to left hip. Drop the right hip. You'll know because the hula hoop will kind of shift over towards the left a bit. And then lift that left hand up towards the sky as you begin to twist over towards the left. And again, that bottom shoulder blade, can you think of it moving into the middle of your back, helping to open up the collarbone to the left side. Take another breath as you reach the tops of the thighs back as the crown of the head feels as though it's moving slightly forward, getting length in the spine and perhaps twisting. Yeah. Good, bring that left hand down. Shift the hips back together or back to square. And then drop the left hip so the connection or the hoop will be more on the left side. And twist over towards the right side, staying stable in both of the feet. Bringing that top hand up towards the skies. You know, the goal is to stack the top shoulder over the bottom shoulder and reach the shoulder blades away from each other, and that will come with time. Reach the pubic bone back, heart forward. Take one more breath. And slowly coming on out. Bring your hands to the top of the hoop and just come out of that. Great. All right, so I wanted to bring this hoop behind us. We're gonna bring our thumbs together, or you can think pointer fingers together, and then we'll lift the hoop up behind us. Might take a little bit of effort if you have a bigger hoop. From here, we'll draw the elbows back as if it's like you're trying to bring the elbows into the hoop. Okay, we're gonna be a peacock. We're gonna flap our cute little peacock feathers and embody the peacock. I'm so serious. So, what is a peacock? How would a peacock walk? Just kidding. I started fluttering like a chicken instead of a peacock. And you can use your yoga mat as a runway and just feel nice and majestic, nice and confident. You know, does a peacock walk slow or do they walk fast? And so opening up the heart. Let's do this for a little bit longer if those arms are getting tired. And perhaps bring the hoop down and just let yourself walk. So I got this inspiration from a little girl. This weekend I was working at the zoo, and this little girl didn't hula hoop once around her waist, but she showed me a turtle where she crawled into the hula hoop on the ground and then poked her head out and then walked back into the hoop. And then she showed me a peacock. And I was like, oh my gosh, here's a hula hoop. I'm taking this. All right, so let's go ahead. Just stand tall. Reach those elbows towards one another. If those hands are on the tailbone, you can even slightly encourage the tailbone down with the tops of the thighs are still pressing back, and just feel really, really open. Allow for just a moment there to be space in the ribs as though you're breathing more and more space into each on all of the ribs so you can kind of find a little arch of the spine. But then knit those ribs together, bring them in, and now only breathe from the heart. And inhale, reach the heart towards the sky while keeping the ribs in. And exhale, just slowly release that. All right, so we're going to the top of our mat. Bring the hoop at a diagonal on the ground, and we'll just find our chair pose. If the hoop is possibly in front of the toes, we won't be here for long. So just pick up the hoop, it'll come right there to your hip crease, and then hold on to the hoop however it feels good, maybe at the top or just maybe at the sides. From here, we'll bring the pelvic floor and press it into the hoop, really tuck in that tailbone, and then do the exact opposite and find a lot of a sway. And just do that a couple times and try to find where's the extremes or where's the middle of these two extremes. And then just keep it there once you feel like, okay, this is in the middle. And then use the hoop and press it down into the tops of the thighs and try to lift that low belly up and off of your hip flexors. And literally use the hoop to find that and bring the shoulder heads down. From here, we can maybe keep it here or reach the hoop out. Sink into those hips. And then we're gonna have a little bit of fun. We'll fold over halfway. Even if the hoop's still at the tops of the thighs, that's totally okay. You still do it this way. And reach the hip crease back, hands forward. All right, take notice, the top of the hoop is the one that's farthest away from you. On an inhale, we'll come back up to stand and bring the top of the hoop that's farthest away from you behind your head and find a little arch of the spine. Really allow that front body to open. And from here, we'll flip the hoop overhead and fold over it. If you want another try at that, you'll get another try. Inhale halfway up. Step that right foot back. And just wiggle it back. Try to find a high lunge. We'll roll this hoop to the outside of the front knee and front leg. And then here we'll lift on to adjust our toes. Lift that heel up and over the toes. And then bend that back knee to a hover. We're just hovering it. Your legs might shake a little bit. But again, little teeny tiny tuck of the tailbone. You can think of this hoop as hugging that front hip in. Stay here for a moment. We're trying our best to take a 90-degree angle in both the knees. And bring a lot of attention to that inner groin of that back leg as you begin to straighten the leg, but trying to keep this low bend in that front knee. From there, again, lift that low belly up and off the hips, and we'll reach that right hand up and over the crown of the head. From there, let's go ahead and reach that hand back behind the head and find a slow C shape of the body. We'll exhale, reach that hand forward and bring it down onto the inside of that front foot. We'll slowly twist over that left shoulder. The connection of that front heel can really bring a lot of attention to that outer left hip. If it's happening to you, great. Allow that sensation to happen. You might feel it somewhere else though too. Take another breath. Reach the shoulder heads away from the crown of the head. We'll slowly come on out of it. Bring this hoop to the front of your mat and step that back foot forward. Once you're there, forward fold. Inhale to your flat back. And exhale, step that left foot back. Roll this hoop to the outside of that right leg. Hug that front hip in. Lift that back heel up and over the toes. And then begin to lower both of the knees and hover that back knee. Front hip is slightly moving back, back hip is slightly moving forward. Both inner thighs are drawing back. If you're like, when I say lift the low belly, if that doesn't totally make sense to you, use this opportunity to bring it right here to that hip crease and catch your low belly and literally feel a little lift. I did this earlier today and I felt it once or twice. So if there's anything that doesn't make sense to you or you don't feel, I hope you don't get too attached to it. All right, let's go ahead. Inner thigh of that back leg. Slowly begin to extend back. Keep that front knee bent. Inhale, lift that left hand up and up to the sky. And then a little bit behind the head. Keep reaching that right knee forward as the left hand reaches back. And then exhale, bring that left hand down. Begin to twist over that right leg. If you wanted to, you can keep that right hand on top of the hoop, or you can flip it up and over the body and lift the hand to the sky. Either one's great. And thanks, Kim, for reminding me of that. If you ever need to, just bring that back knee down. It's totally A-okay. No, that's great. All right, we'll slowly come on out of that. Bring this hoop to the front of the mat, step that back foot forward. We'll fold. We'll bend at the knees as this hoop comes right to the hip crease. Let it frame the body. Reach it forward. And then fold halfway, bringing the torso about parallel-ish to the floor. If you wanted to lift the heels, that's the next step, but no one says you have to. If you did lift the heels, go ahead, clamp them down. We'll lift up, bring that hoop behind you, and find a little opening in the front of the body. And then exhale, flip the hoop in front and just bring it right to the tops of your thighs. Let's give you a 2 to 3 breath little break. Sometimes taking the breaks is the hardest for me. All right, so I'm running out of time, so I might leave you in Shavasana today and just exit out of the class so you can enjoy that on your own, but there's still a few more things I want to do. All right, so let's go ahead. No, we don't have time for that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and just lower to our knees. If you need to have a blanket underneath the knees, again, go ahead and do so. But we'll bring this hoop right behind us. And then let that hoop come a little bit underneath the shoulder blades. If it doesn't go underneath the shoulder blades, that should be okay, just as long as it's underneath the arms. But if you can bend the hoop a little, snug it in there, then great. You can either hold your hands onto the hoop, or maybe you bring your hands to face down on your sacrum. And then your elbows here, you would still encourage them back. Yeah, let's all start with that one. This one's a great one to start with. If this is too much, though, to have your hands on your low back like this, then just hold onto your hips with your thumb on your back and the fingers forward. Okay, let's go ahead, press down to the knees, get a length in the spine. And then exhale, we'll roll the shoulders over the hoop, begin to turn the gaze skyward. Those hands are on your sacrum. You can encourage the booty slightly down and lift out of the low back and open up the chest. Make sure to breathe here. Then take notice, where is your heart? And then can you reach the heart slightly back as though the heart is trying to move over the hoop. Take a really good breath here. And on the exhale, begin to come on out. Get that hoop out of the way. You can use it to balance or just hold on to for a moment. Just let yourself release that. You can also just place it on the ground. We're going to find 2 more camels. And just notice the opening that you feel right now, so that you can notice how you feel after the 3rd round. And we'll come back up to our knees, bring the hoop behind. And walking it down to a comfortable place on our back. Let's find this once more with the hands at the low back and the elbows crawling towards one another. So let's inhale, lift and lengthen, think outer legs drawing in, inner thighs back, and then begin to fold over that hoop. You can even maybe encourage the hips slightly forward as you find the heart, find the crown of the head, and then reach both of them back to the back of your mat. So opening up that collarbone, letting the inner shoulder blades move into the back of the heart while it lifts to the sky and to the back of your mat. Make sure to breathe. It's so easy to hold the breath. Take one more breath. And on the exhale, come on out. Bringing the hoop out. And sit back on your heels. Let's not anticipate the next one. Let's just allow the eyes to soften, allow the hands to rest on the legs. Catching your breath. If the eyes are closed, we'll softly blink them open and come back up to our knees and roll this hoop behind our back. This time maybe you can do it without the toes curled under, but I'm going to encourage toes curled under this time. If you're like me and sometimes you can't find your pinky toe, just give that pinky toe a little bit more encouragement. And then from here, I'm going to say if you would like to go ahead and try to find the heels when you lean back, feel free to. If it doesn't make it, who cares? You can always just hold on to the hoop rather than bringing them onto your back. So whatever you choose, this will be our last camel pose. So go ahead and still have the connection to the ground, help give you a lift. And then we'll exhale and find that back bend. Lift out of the low back. Make space in the back ribs. And if you haven't tried yet, perhaps you lift onto the tippy toes and bring your hands towards your heels. If it's not in the practice today, don't worry. If you do find your heels, then you can use the encouragement of that connection to help bring the shoulder blades into the middle of the back. And as the shoulder blades move and cinch together, let's now create a little bit of space in between the shoulder blades. Take one more breath. And on the exhale, coming on out, lowering to your heels. And then finding that stillness again with the hands palm up or palm down on the thighs. Even if you wanted to, perhaps that heart is feeling really open, and you can always bring your hands to your heart and help seal that in and make it feel a little safe. Lean over to one side. We'll bring the hoop around our body and then bring both feet in front of you. Cross the right foot over the left foot. You'll bring the hoop down for a moment. You can lean over towards the left side and then kick that foot behind you towards the booty. So the right thigh, you're getting in this little pretzel. So the hoop now, let's find our back ribs with your body inside the hoop. And just notice how much you're leaning over towards the left versus the right. And just slowly encourage that top hip onto the mat and feeling nice and supported, knowing you're not going to fall over. You got this hoop that's holding you, your arms are holding you, your sit bones are holding you. And let's just rock back and forth for a moment. And then when you rock over to the right, let's now let go with the left hand and hold onto the knee, hug that knee in with the left elbow and reach that right hand back, turning the gaze over that back shoulder. On the inhale, find length in the spine. On the exhale, begin to twist from that very low belly all the way up the spine, reaching that right hand back. We'll slowly come on out of it when you're ready. And simply make the legs go forward. Kick that right heel into the left butt cheek. And you can roll over to the left side and place that left foot onto the outside of the right thigh. Wow, I gotta find a different way of explaining that. Right, left, right, left. Yeah. And then we'll find our back ribs and slowly encourage that top thigh back, that top hip back. And then just finding some movement again, trying to hug the knees in. And then when you rock to the left side, release the right arm, grab that knee, and keep twisting to the left. On the inhale, try to find your sit bones. And on the exhale, twist and peek over that left shoulder. Drop both shoulder blades down towards the hips. Slowly coming on out. And then we'll let the hip come down to the ground and allow ourselves to come down to the ground as well. Just one more time, we'll use the hoop. Let's lower that left leg, flex out the left heel. Encourage the inner thigh of that left leg down. And then place the foot, the right foot, on the hoop and bring the heel up towards the sky. Hold on to the hoop on either side and bring those toes towards your nose as you extend out through the heel. Breathe into the back body, the back of the legs, the back of the spine. Start to begin to feel that the shoulders and the back of the skull begin to sink into the ground. Take another breath here, extend out through the heel. And then keep the foot on the hoop as you slowly extend that foot down to the earth, trying to create it longer and longer to where you feel like it's literally going to be longer than the left foot when you bring it to the ground. From there, just encourage, you can literally put your right hand on the right inner thigh and just encourage the inner thigh towards the earth. Extend out through the heel. And then bring that left knee in towards the chest. Place the hoop on the ball mound of the foot, like that first arch closer to your toes. And lift that heel up towards the sky, straightening the leg or keeping a little bend in it if you need. Just think the very, very top of the thigh, that area, that top of the thigh that meets the hip. Think of that pressing away towards the heel end of your mat while the toes still keep on coming towards your nose. Take a deep breath into the back body. Notice where the back of the skull and the shoulders are. And then as you're ready, slowly lower that leg, extending out through the heel, extending out through the heel, making it longer, until it meets the ground. Go ahead, release the hoop, place it on the earth. We got started a little later, so I apologize. But I want to make sure to get one more thing. We're gonna cross that right heel over the left knee. Bring your hands out at a T, and then drop that lifted foot over to the left side and turn your gaze over the right. Trying to keep that right shoulder on the mat. If you wanted to, you can use your left hand to just gently encourage the thigh away from the body, and that makes a little more space in the torso. Or if their outer hips are speaking to you, you can also grab the ankle and walk the ankle up the thigh. Either one. And we'll slowly come on out. This will be the last thing before we find Shavasana, and I'll just let you all go. And if you want to talk to me after class, just give me a holler. But we'll bring the left foot on top of the right knee and drop that foot over towards the right and turn your gaze over towards your left. And I'll say it again. If you wanted to, you can use one of your hands to just slowly press that top thigh away from your belly button. Or you can grab that foot with your right hand and walk it up the thigh closer to your belly button. And that will get the outer hip a little more. Take a really good breath from the low belly. Feel it raise all the way up to the heart. And slowly coming on out, bringing the knees, bringing both of the feet down, the knees up towards the sky. If you feel like you need anything else, feel free to do so, like bringing the knees into the chest, finding a happy baby, or just lowering the legs down onto the ground. We'll allow those legs just to flop open, feeling the inner thighs are opening up towards the sky. You bring the hands and let the backs of the hands be placed on the ground. And just slightly rock the shoulder blades down the back. Take a nice inhale in through the nose. Open up the mouth and sigh it away. Inhale in through the nose. And just release the breath. Feeling the connection that you have to the earth. Imagining the brain sinking into the back of the skull, making a little nest in the ground. Feeling the heart moves in towards the shoulder blades, feeling nice and secure. And then drawing the shoulder heads a little closer to the earth and finding where is the center of your chest for your heart to lie. Taking your time to lay here in your Shavasana, really for as long as you're able to. You know, we talked about a little bit before class that is knowing that as the seasons change, we are also in changing in life. And some seasons are rougher than others, but the seasons continue to change. So I'll end the practice with you today. Saying thank you so much for practicing with me. I'm just going to shut off the Boxy, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Again, you can call or text me after this, but I'll let you keep laying here. Love you much.